Didier Reynerds, former Deputy Prime Minister of Belgium and former European Commissioner for Justice, must explain to the Belgian judiciary the mysterious €1 million that allegedly came from unknown sources into his account. The politician denies all allegations, but further doubts are emerging about him. Politicians from Poland's Law and Justice Party are demanding an investigation into whether the suspicious money in Reynders' account could have come from Russia. And unofficial sources tell us the Belgian authorities also have much more serious suspicions about him. Was Didier Reynders a Russian agent? A few years ago, such a question addressed to one of the EU's most important commissioners would have seemed absurd. Today, however, it is on everyone's lips. There are reports, albeit unverified, alleging that Belgian services have long been looking into Didier Reynders from various strange angles. And I will say that Didier Reynders' brother, supposedly an architect, seems to have taken lucrative contracts from the Russian embassy in Brussels. But suspicions toward the former European Union Commissioner began to swell even before he became one of the EU's fiercest critics of Poland and its then conservative government. Suspicions of contracts with Russia date back to 2018, when, after the assassination attempt on former GRU officer Sergei Skripal in the United Kingdom, European intelligence services decided to expel 23 Russian diplomats from European Union countries. Belgium resisted the idea for a very long time, but in the end, it symbolically removed one diplomat. There were 240 of them left in Belgium. Didier Reynders was the foreign minister and deputy prime minister of Belgium at the time, who today has been charged with money laundering. The public has not been informed where he got the money from. According to the Belgian authorities, Didier Reynders laundered around €1 million over many years. The money was, allegedly, deposited in a bank and put into circulation through unusual transactions related to the purchase of lottery tickets. For me, it would be important to check whether these leads don't originate in Moscow or Belarus. Though there is currently no known evidence that the money came from Russia, questions about this are entirely justified. Didier Reynders was EU Commissioner for Justice, which means he was responsible for the rule of law, sanction mechanisms, and indirectly for the legal framework for sanctions against Russia after 2014 and 2022, but also for putting pressure on EU member states.
In Poland, the independence and impartiality of the Supreme Court's disciplinary chamber is not guaranteed.
Polish judges are European judges.
Didier Reynders was the author of a report on the rule of law, which attacked Poland in an extremely brutal manner, attacking the conservative Law and Justice Party's government, among other things, for detaining Spanish journalist Pablo González. Pablo González later turned out to be a fake identity of Pavel Rubtsov, a colonel in the Russian GRU. In recent years, real Russian influence operations in Europe have also been revealed: party financing, lobbying, and even corruption. The actions of the European Union, which has accused and continues to accuse Poland of violating the rule of law, work in Russia's favor because Poland is being undermined politically. The point is for Poland, one of the Russian Federation's main adversaries in Europe, to be a country with little influence inside the European Union. This would explain the financial penalties which, even after the outbreak of war in Ukraine, the European Union imposed on Poland more willingly and more swiftly than on Russia. Currently, the total amount of penalties exceeds €160 million, pending a possible positive change in the legal situation in Poland. One such change was to be the recognition of the supremacy of EU law over the Polish constitution. Didier Reynders demanded that the then Polish Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki withdraw the question he asked to the Constitutional Tribunal of Poland about whether Polish or EU law takes precedence. I would like to draw attention to Poland's Constitutional Tribunal. Here, the Commission decided to refer Poland's case to the Court of Justice due to the Constitutional Tribunal's violation of EU law in its 2022 rulings. Mateusz Morawiecki did not withdraw his question, but the very fact that a man with such a history did so raises questions. Here we had a possible Russian agent in the EU using his influence to sanction and isolate Poland. The whole smear campaign against Poland and the alleged violation of the rule of law during the Law and Justice Party's rule is largely the result of Russian psyops, as was also stated by former US Ambassador to Poland, Georgette Mosbacher. The EU is currently dealing with the rule of law in Poland and debating sanctions. It is time to say it out loud. When it comes to problems with the rule of law, much of what reached the West was the result of Russian disinformation. Both the EU and US accepted it uncritically. Hence, the interpellation is submitted by Law and Justice MPs to the European Commission in November. In it, they demanded the Commission investigate whether Reynders' actions, including his attacks on Poland, were inspired by Russia. This is a key issue for Polish national interests, because Russia intensified these covert activities, both in the European Commission and in the European Parliament, after the outbreak of the Russian-Ukrainian war. This was actually intended to weaken the country that supported Ukraine's struggle for independence. If the allegations against Didier Reynders are confirmed, he faces up to 5 years in prison, a fine, and even forfeiture of his assets. If the suspicions of espionage are confirmed, the former European Union Commissioner for Justice could be sentenced to up to 20 years in prison.